Welcome to Everyone Loves Guitar, where we get to sit down and talk with interesting professional guitar players and related music industry experts. If you love playing guitar, stick around. You're in the right place. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Everyone Loves Guitar podcast. I've got a great, real successful young studio and touring musician with me today out of Nashville. Really cool guest, very successful. His name is Matt Helmkamp, and he's played with Logan Brill, Haley Witters. He's toured with a number of other artists. Very busy guy. He's done some session work at Station West, which is one of the biggest studios in Nashville. And real happy to have him on the show with us. Matt, thank you for coming on.
Yeah, thank you.
So, quick question before we get started. What's the last piece of music you listened to before you and I got on the call today?
Yeah, it was Jason Isbell's Southeastern record. It was the last thing I went through.
I always like to know that. It's always interesting to see you get some different responses.
Yeah.
Okay, so you got a lot of projects going on. What are you working on now that you're most excited about?
I think the most exciting one is Haley Witters and kind of what she's got going on. We're doing a lot of cool things with her and have done some cool things with her in the past. And that's just an exciting thing to be a part of. And it's fun musically and with the people involved. So all around, it's a really exciting thing to be a part of.
You're on the road with her often. What's the next place you're going, or when is the next tour launch?
At the end of this month, we just have another couple of dates. I think we're doing a state fair in Iowa and then a quick little club date in Chicago at a place called Bub City. And then we're playing this Sunday doing one of the CMA Fest things.
Oh, that's great. That's exciting.
So that'll be a cool in-town, 30-minute, 45-minute set. I don't remember exactly how long we're playing, but it'll be a good, 5-6 songs. So
that's very cool.
Yeah.
How did that project come about?
That I just got contacted. One of my buddies and roommates, Chaz Covington, played bass with her for a while, and then he brought me on for a couple of dates, and I just have kind of stuck with it. I think it's been almost about a year and a half now.
Well, that's fantastic. So it was like a question of right place, right time, just quick, sort of knew someone got right in the door. It wasn't a big involved process. Yeah,
it was just kind of hey, my buddy can play guitar. You're looking for a guitar player for a couple of dates because the guy that she was playing with had something else going on, and then just kind of stuck around with it. So
that's awesome, man. I think from my experience, the things that happen fastest and organically and like almost serendipity, like those, it's just like the universe is like telling you this is for you. Where there's no stress and no hassles. It's just a slot in, and things usually do well from that.
Yeah, it's just kind of a quick in, and it's been an easy project to be a part of as far as fit and playing and the music and everything's really great with it. So
cool, man. Where are you originally from? Where'd you
originally from Auburn, Indiana, Northeast Indiana. So.
And you grew up there?
Yes, I lived there until I came to Nashville to go to school. So I was there for 18, 19 years.
Very cool.
Grew up there. Yeah.
And what was your earliest exposure to music?
That would have been with my dad. He was always has been big into music. And so just kind of growing up, he would always have music on around the house. Or he played guitar too. So, I just there's some pictures of me when I'm really little. I don't even really remember them per se, but, just hanging out with dad, goofing off and playing music. So,
did he listen to country music?
He did, yeah. He was like Alan Jackson, George Strait, kind of that style of 90s country. And then, he was big into some of the 80s rock and that kind of stuff as well. A little bit, nothing too crazy. But, yeah.
That's very cool. So did you started playing guitar as a young kid. Did you know, like, at what point in time to say, hey, I want to do this. This is who I am. I want to do this.
Yeah, I think that moment came in college. I was probably a sophomore and was just kind of starting to do some more of the on the road stuff and was like, oh, this is a really cool thing to do, and kind of being in Nashville and around so many other guys that were kind of coming to that moment themselves too, it was just kind of a continuation, I guess, not as much as just like a hard decision, but just, this is cool. I get to go out and do it. And yeah.
So when you went to Belmont, you weren't committed to being a musician at that point? That like it came while you were there?
Yeah. So when I originally went to Belmont, I was an audio engineering major. So I was kind of, wanting to work on that side of music, more so in the production or being an engineer or something like that. But as more opportunities arose for me to play guitar, it just kind of fell into that side of it. So I eventually changed majors just to general music business. And that's kind of when I made the decision to really go for playing guitar full time.
Awesome. Again, man, it's very organic. I like that. That means everything's working out. You're in the right place, man.
It's been working so far. So, yeah.
Hey, Matt, can you turn off your camera? Because we're getting a lot of... I'm sorry. I'd much rather see, but we're getting breakup.
Oh, yeah. Is that better?
Yeah, I'm sure it will be. Well, even if it's not, we got no choice, but it definitely can help, I'm sure. All righty. So I know you play a 339 as your primary guitar, and I'd like to talk a little bit about, semi-hollow body guitars in general. These are just vague, broad picture questions, but I'd love to get your input. In your opinion, what are the advantages or disadvantages? I mean, most people in country especially are playing teles. You're in the tele capital of the country, I think, as a matter of fact. What do you like about is the 339 a semi-hollow body or completely hollow?
It's a semi-hollow. So it's essentially the same dimensions and everything as a 335, but they just shrunk it down. So it's the size of a Les Paul, but with the same characteristics and dimensions as a 335.
Okay. What do you like about the semi-hollow body over a Les Paul, over a Tele?
Yeah, I like that it's a little thinner than a Les Paul, so it's not, it's kind of sits in between both of them. I have a Les Paul that I also use and a Tele, but I like the way that the 339 can sit, especially if I'm playing with another guitar player that is playing a Les Paul or a Tele. It's just kind of a different voice that still fits well, and it's not as big on the low end, so it's I'm not going to get just kind of run over. I'll still cut through a little bit, but it won't be two Teles fighting for a spotlight. So
right. So it gives you it's a blendable, acceptable color for all the other instruments you're playing off of, I guess, in a sense.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just another
What kind of pickups are on that guitar? Are they burstbuckers or are they special?
They are 57 Classics.
Oh my God, those are awesome.
Yeah. Wow. I really like them.
Oh, they're really good pickups. I had that on my SG. They are fantastic pickups. I think I have a Classic, and it has like 498 Ts, which are the highest output.
Yeah.
But for sound, I actually like those 57s better than anything. I mean, they're really very well rounded. You could do anything with those pickups. I love them.
Yeah, I love them. And then they're, like you said, I mean, they're not super high output, but they're still, humbuckers, which I love. I don't have a lot of volume gap or gain adjustments to make when I change guitars.
When you're buying a semi-hollow body guitar like a 339 or a 335, 345, any input or thoughts on what to look for or what to look out for? Because it's always, I don't know, I always find it trickier making an evaluation on a semi-hollow body guitar than on a solid body guitar.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's up to the player and their personal choice a little bit. There's certain things to look out for as far as how does it feel when you're holding the instrument or playing it? Does it feel like it can breathe, or you can actually, let your guitar voice shine on this instrument, or does it feel like it's hindering you in any way? I don't know. This is kind of a side note, but I actually bought my 339 used online without ever playing it or seeing it. So I say that, but then I took a different route to buy mine. But it was through a program where I could send it back if I didn't love it. But even then when I got it, it was just kind of a feel thing. And how does this instrument feel? I don't know. Hopefully that kind of answered the question. I kind of went off on a tangent there. But.
No, that's totally cool. That's what I want to do because I want to know what's going through your head. So, had you played a 339 prior to ordering it, or you didn't even play it?
Yes, I had played one. I went to Sweetwater Sound is right near where I grew up.
I was thinking that when you said that, I was going to ask you about that. Yeah, that's very cool. So you played one at Sweetwater. Yeah,
I would go in there and play them. They great company and take good care of everybody. So it's always a welcoming environment to go into and just kind of screw around on the guitar for a while. So, but yeah, I just liked the size of it. It wasn't a massive 335, but the size of it was great. It played well. It felt good in my hands. It's got this 60s neck on it, so it's a little slimmer.
Yep.
A little faster, but yeah.
Yeah, I like a slimmer neck myself. I've played a couple of 335s that were and Les Pauls that were just really. I'm not a big guy. I'm 5'9" and I have average size hands. And I played some, and it was like gave me cramps. It was just uncomfortable. And that's what I like about this Les Paul Classic I have. This is 60s kind of neck, smaller. It feels great. So you bought that at Sweetwater. I always see pictures of them, and I've bought guitars from them, and I think I bought 2 or 3 guitars from them, and all but one worked out, through no fault of theirs, obviously.
Yeah.
It was just, I think if you buy a guitar online and it works, it's luck. Because to me, guitars are almost like,
Yeah, you really have to sit down with them and kind of learn it a little bit before you actually commit to buying it.
It's a feel, it's almost like choosing a girlfriend or a mate. There's a very personal, subtle interactions that you want and don't want out of that guitar, and it's hard to tell. So I think if you hit it, it's more luck sometimes when buying online.
Yeah, I definitely feel that with mine. Yeah.
Is Sweetwater?
I feel like I got pretty.
Oh yeah, I mean, it sounds like you did for sure with that guitar. But when you see Sweetwater online, it looks like it's the size of Costco, except with instruments. Is it really that big?
Yeah, their campus is pretty huge now, and I think they keep adding on to it too. But they have a massive warehouse where literally everything is just there. So
wow.
It's pretty big.
I'd love to go to that place sometime.
Yeah.
You've been playing guitar a long time. What were some of the surprises maybe that you learned about yourself as you were playing guitar, or things you learned about playing that took you by surprise, that you weren't expecting this, good or bad?
Yeah, things that I personally learned kind of about myself in playing guitar was just the expression of it. It's different working in a professional environment when you're playing specific things, and it's less expressive, more just performing the instrument. But when I can sit down and practice and just kind of play whatever I feel, and it's just a really good feeling to sit down and play something that's almost like singing, but it's a different voice. So I love that aspect of it.
So you feel like playing, were you the kind of person that was like pretty emotional or expressive prior to playing guitar, and the guitars helped you, or you feel comfortable more with a guitar being emotional or expressing yourself?
I think it's my personal form of expression. I don't really have to say a whole lot, but I can play something that's, whether or not anybody else really recognizes it as that or not, but it just, I can play something that's kind of has a little more attitude to it, or dig into a note a certain way, or like play angry. I don't know who, like Eric Johnson or somebody said something about playing angry, or I don't know exactly who said it, but like you just get the way you approach the instrument, your sounds, and you can get just different things out. I wouldn't necessarily consider myself an emotional person outside of the instrument, rather, really.
No, that's great, though. I mean, because I think it's an important and healthy thing for everybody to express themselves. And if you're not that kind of, if you're not the kind of person that would, do that verbally. It's what a great outlet.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you got to get, everybody's got to get something off their chest one way or another, and hopefully it'll be in a positive, healthy way. It's that's great. Guitar-wise, who are some of your bigger influences?
Yeah, I would definitely say Warren Haynes is a big one. Warren Haynes, Derek Trucks. I love that style of, mending blues and any, Government Mule with the harder rock stuff, like kind of what you were saying.
Mm.
And then I also love like Joe Walsh and any of the Eagles style guitar playing too, where it's kind of that Southern rock, or not Southern rock, but LA 70s LA sound.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dude, you're speaking my language now with all those guys.
Yeah. I love that kind of stuff. And then early on too, like I love the first Boston record.
Yeah. Tom Schultz. Yeah.
Like that kind of delay, martially, kind of in your face, big guitars. So,
you ever listen to some older Joe Walsh stuff? I don't know how far back you've gone with him.
Yeah, like James Gang or
great.
Who else? Great. Yeah, or any of his solo stuff too.
Barnstorm, yeah, all that stuff is awesome. He's a brilliant guy. I mean, what a great writer, and he plays rhythm, he plays lead, he plays tons of piano, and he's a very talented guy.
Yeah, he's one that every time I go back and listen to it or find a new record or something of that, I can always learn something new from him, whether it's a lick or how he approached a sound or something. Yeah. Yeah,
he's a great, and you know what? I've seen him I saw him in concert with the Eagles a few years back. They were down here in Tampa, but every time I've seen him, whether it's live on video, he has a different guitar.
Yeah.
And some of them are like, you ever notice they're not Gibsons, they're not Fenders, they're not PRS. You can't even figure out what they are. They're like,
yeah, he's got that Duesenberg or some other weird ones.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
very. Derek, I saw Derek in a concert at the St. Pete Blues Festival. I guess about 5 years ago, probably 2.5, 3 years ago actually, and they play this song Tedeschi Trucks called "Down in the Hole." It's an old Bob Dylan song. I don't know if you ever heard it, but I've seen so many concerts. That was like a religious moment for me when I've never seen anybody like abuse, and I mean it in a good way, abuse an instrument the way I saw him play "Down in the Hole." I was what he did and his performance was. I was literally like had goosebumps. I couldn't even speak after that.
Yeah, that's awesome. When he can really get down to the core of his instrument and just play something that's super expressive and that's kind of that feeling thing where you can really just feel what he's playing, and he is singing just in a different form.
Oh yeah,
that's awesome.
And he's a different player. Like I saw him with the Allman Brothers, and I think a better player, honestly. Kind of like what you said, he's not limited. When he was with the Brothers, he was limited to not that they play bad. I mean, they're one of my all-time favorite bands, but he was limited to their constraints of what the performance called for. And when I saw him solo, it was totally different. I mean, just you could just see it was much more. It was more authentic and as you said, more expressive. And it was just honestly one of the best shows I've ever seen in my life. I will remember that performance of that one song till the day I die.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's a very cool thing. Like almost in the Allman Brothers, he's playing to the constraints of the sound or what he got hired on to do, even though was a part of it a little bit more. Yes. But then in this thing, he can go and just be free to truly express or play kind of whatever he wants to a certain degree.
Yeah, no, totally. And I think Warren's inherent native style is more in line with the Allman Brothers type of stuff. So when you see him playing, like I've seen Mule like I don't know probably 4 or 5 times, and it's not dramatically different. The style, the emotion, the vibe is a lot more consistent with what he did with the Allman Brothers than like what Derek did with the Allman Brothers. So it was just really interesting to see, everybody do their own thing. It's very cool. No, I'm sorry. I mean, I cut you off there.
No, I was just confirming the end of the statement there.
Pedals, effects. What are some of your preferred or favorite pedals top two or three pedals you can't do without.
Yeah, I have a Wampler Euphoria. It's just I think they call it like their Dumble style or smooth transparent overdrive, but I love that just because it's not super high gain. It's very much amp-like. It responds really well. And I play through a deluxe reverb, and so a lot of times if the venue allows, or if, I'm not going to be crazy loud, I'll just crank that up and kind of just use guitar amp on some gigs. And so I love that pedal because it can achieve that sound, but just on a clean amp. Another one that I've got that I love to use is it's XTS Winford Drive, Exact Tone Solutions. They're a Nashville builder, and but I love that pedal. It's kind of a more grit, and then it's got this really awesome mid boost function. If I turn the gain all the way down and turn the mid boost all the way up, it's got a really cool. I don't even really know how to describe it, but it's more pedally. It's not exactly an amp tone per se, but I love to use the two of those to get two different flavors of drive. And then a third pedal would be the Archer, or the J-Rocket Archer pedal. It's like a clone.
Okay.
Yeah. So I just use that to boost into the other two pedals for like a solo boost, or to add more gain to a section or something. So I'm a big overdrive dirt guy. I don't know. Probably.
I was thinking it gave me three.
Probably a little too much, but yeah.
No, that's but I think overdrive and fuzz are the number one pedals around. That.
There's just so many flavors.
Yeah, I like Wampler's pedals too. I'm a fan of their stuff. They're well made. They sound really, really well. Yeah,
they're awesome.
As far as guitars, do you prefer vintage or modern, and why?
I would love to say that I prefer vintage guitars if I could afford them or play them on the road or any of that.
Sure. Makes sense.
The few vintage Les Pauls that I played are incredible. I just always use modern guitars just because it's what's available to me now,
Yeah.
So
let me ask you something about practicing, because I think this is a common question for all guitar players. When you're practicing, right? There's, let's say, two or three kinds of practices. There's one kind of practice when you're playing so good and you almost don't even know how you're doing what you're doing. You're just in that zone. And then you have the average good quality practice where you feel you got something out of it and solid. And then there's those days where you can't even play a major scale properly. You practice a solo that cold, and it's as if it's the first time you played it. What percentage of the time that you're practicing, or do you think you have really great, average, and just horrible practices?
I feel like I spend a lot of time in the average practice arena just because I'm trying to work on new things, and so they're not exactly, the muscle memory isn't there, so I'm developing some new licks or ways to play things. So I feel like it spends more time in that average where it's not necessarily that I don't feel like I can't play my instrument, but I'm just working on something new that's unfamiliar. So it's good, productive practice, but it's also not like I'm sitting there and the instrument's just flowing super well.
That makes sense.
Yeah,
I guess given the nature of playing with all these artists, session touring, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah. When you have the practice that's awful, do you tend to say, you know what, screw it, this isn't happening today, I'm going to go, watch TV, go to the gym, go for a walk, whatever, fill in the blank? Or do you just grind through it?
I usually will put the instrument down for a while because it's not worth it to me to just get really upset at myself and kind of, take it out like bad practice for the day, or, because there's just some days where you're kind of always trying to find that zone and you just can't ever get there. So on those bad practice days, I'll just kind of put the instrument down for a while, go do something else, and then come back to it later. And then hopefully I'll be in a better mindset to get some good practice in. I would love to say that I got through it, but yeah.
No, you can't. I mean, I think I think it's healthy.
It's just,
I think your attitude is smart.
Yeah, because I'd rather not, beat myself up over not being able to play something. I'd rather put it down, reframe myself, and come back to it later.
Sure. No, because when that happens, it's all. I mean, there's nothing you can do. So it's like you're literally, trying to make chicken salad out of chicken shit almost. It's just not happening. So,
yeah.
Yeah, I get it.
Absolutely.
I usually do the same thing. I'm obviously not a professional player, but I don't like the frustration. I'll just play some blues and jam to something, and then, it'll be a short practice, and I'll try to come back later, or just, write it off for the day and come back tomorrow.
Yeah, and that, like, playing along to some stuff and just kind of getting, like, the practice zone and just trying to be creative or play along to something, or, just get the feel back under your fingers. Even that sometimes is where, you can get out of a bad practice zone and kind of do that for a while and come back to it without actually putting the instrument down. So I guess that's just another way to adjust.
Yeah, I usually do that because I don't like to miss practice. So I'll and I can't screw up improv too bad, I mean, if I'll put on stuff I really like, and so it's not difficult, and you put on some blues, it's nice and easy, and if nothing else, I got to work my muscles for 30 minutes, and that was that. Do you remember, or do you have like a favorite album, or a favorite artist, or a favorite song?
Man, I always struggle with this question. It's just tough. Because, and it's hard to, when you're just listening to new stuff or trying to find new stuff, it's easy to forget your old favorite albums. Man, I don't know.
No worries. It's like saying, what's your ideal looking woman? It's very hard to.
It's kind of hard to specify one thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you had to we haven't really talked about all the guitars yet. So you play your 335. What else?
Mm-hmm.
What else do you play?
I have an American Deluxe Tele.
Mm-hmm.
That's, I would consider like number 2 kind of thing.
Right.
And then I have a Les Paul. It's one of the Gibson traditional ones. And then I also have an old Made in Mexico Strat that was my first guitar that I've just kind of kept around, and I put new pickups in it, and it's fun to mess around with at the house. I've never taken it on the road or anything, but it's just I love Strats,
right? And
but the practicality of them, kind of with what I'm doing, I could definitely use one, but it's just not anything that I feel like I need currently.
That's interesting. It's always interesting to talk to different guys, because some guys that play professionally were like, well, of course I've got to have my Strat. So it's always, it's just, that's what I love about music. It's so individual, and there's no right or wrong, and it's just really interesting to find out everybody's preference, If you had money wasn't an object, time wasn't an object, what would your next guitar be?
I would get one of the Gibson Les Paul Juniors with the 2 pickups, the TV yellow one. I love the P90 Les Paul Juniors. I think those are pretty awesome.
They're gorgeous, yeah, man.
Yeah, and that's another flavor too. I mean, I know that you said any of the constraints didn't matter, just kind of whatever you wanted.
Yeah.
But I love that flavor too, because it's a single coil, but it's not a Tele or a Strat, so it's just another option to blend with.
Do you ever have you ever heard of Leslie West?
Leslie West, no.
Yeah, he played for Mountain. He wrote Mississippi Queen.
Oh, okay, yeah.
He played Les Paul Jr. He had a TV yellow Les Paul Jr. That's all he played, he was a big giant guy too, and I think that's a single pickup guitar, isn't it?
Yeah. Yes, I think the Juniors are. I don't know Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
and he got such a monster. I mean, he's known for his tone, you know, and it was interesting because he, you know, big giant guy, monster tone, and he was basically playing a single pickup guitar, which was always really interesting. Which just goes to show you how much of your expression is in your hands, and to an extent your amplifiers.
yeah. You can just kind of work the guitar in different ways to achieve different sounds rather than changing everything to get a different sound.
I was in Nashville. My wife and I were in Nashville about 6 to 8 months ago, and I was in Carter.
Yeah,
And,
great store.
Oh man, I love that store. And I saw a TV Yellow guitar there. It was really very cool looking. It was, you know, vintage old Les Paul.
Yeah.
What's your favorite part of your job, of what you do?
I would have to say that I can still play guitar and do all of that, but I can go out and get paid for it. Like, you know, I don't have to change. You know, I'm still just me playing guitar, you know, as the 13-year-old in my basement or something. But now it's evolved into a professional thing. And obviously there's a lot of changes along the way to make that happen. But, you know, I'm still, when I'm on stage playing or doing a song, you know, it's still that same feeling. And I think that's incredible, and that's an awesome thing that I've, you know, been given the opportunity to do that.
So you're just so grateful just to be able to get paid to do what you love, basically.
Yeah,
That's awesome, man.
It's an incredible thing, you know, just to be able to do.
Is there a least favorite part?
Maybe some of the long days in a van or something, you know, 15 hours in a van or
The road.
Yeah, I can usually find some stuff to keep me busy, or it's a great opportunity to listen to new music or kind of dive into something a little deeper. But there's just some days when, you know, 8 hours in a van doesn't sound like the best day, and it's just kind of a hard thing to do. But again, you know, that kind of gets put back into perspective when you realize that you're playing guitar for a living.
Right.
Yeah.
Do you have any weird or outrageous or debauchery-filled road stories of stuff you've seen or wacky stuff? I mean, you don't need to name names. You can, you know.
Yeah. There's a handful of them.
Let's go. Spill the beans on a couple.
Yeah. Man, there was one. I was on a long. I think it was like a 7-week or 8-week run out west. We were hitting like Cheyenne, Wyoming, and Minot, North Dakota, and a bunch of these things. I was out with an artist that was. We were just doing like these week-long residencies at all these places. And so you get some interesting characters that'll come in on a Tuesday or a Wednesday for your 4-hour set. And we just had one guy, you know, he was just full of tall tales and, you know, was drinking a lot. And, you know, we took our break and we're just kind of hanging out, and he came up and was just talking to us about all kinds of stuff, you know, talking about slide guitar and all kinds of weird things. And eventually it came time for us to start back up again, and he was just not wanting to leave the stage. So he's just hanging out on stage, like sitting on the drum riser, still talking to us. We're just like, hey man, we have to start back up here. You know, we need you to kind of meander off here. And he never really did, but then he just kind of, somewhere in the midst of the first song, when he just realized that we weren't talking to him anymore, he just walks off stage, and I think it was like a 2.5 foot stage, and just didn't, you know, so drunk that he didn't even realize where the stage was, where it ended. And, you know, total drunk fall, no hands, nothing, flat on his face on this dance floor. And we're up there still trying to play. And it was probably in the middle of that stretch, so it was just a long, you know, lots of time playing, and you know, just to see a dude, you know, bigger guy, probably 6'5", 250, just fall flat on his face.
Yeah,
and you're just like, oh that. Man, yeah, trying to hold it together, you know, for the 15 to 30 people that are at the bar. But
wow.
Yeah. And then, you know, just that continued on. We met up with another band that same week at that same place, and this guy comes running around again, and it was just a night filled of drinking too much with everybody. But just kind of the same story. He was just hanging out and just it kind of got a little out of control.
These guys, is it ever like, because it's not really like a normal thing to hang out with the band to that extent. Does it ever get like kind of creepy? Like, dude, this guy's just not like socially not right, or just like he needs to go and he doesn't realize that. Does it ever get like creepy or?
Yeah, there's definitely moments where that happens, and you're just kind of like, man, we don't want to be rude or anything to these to fans or people or anybody, but you're just like, hey man, we're just trying to hang out here on our break, or there's not really a green room for anything that's to go right now, and it's just you try to be nice and cordial to everybody.
Yeah, but you really want to be like, listen, I don't know you, and you don't know me, and this is not. Yeah. We did not grow up together, and I'm really happy you like my music.
Entertained some thoughts for a while, but it's like, all right, cool, man.
Yeah. It's just because I've always wondered, because if I've seen bands, and even like, you ever heard this guitarist you might know him because he's a blues player named Michael Burks.
Ooh, I don't know that name.
So Michael Burks was like he's a badass. He plays, mostly Gibson's, blues guy, and he was one of these guys. He grew up like playing in juke joints as a kid. He was a young guy. He was like in his, I think, late 30s or early 40s. Anyway, so I happened to look, and there's a place down here in Tampa that everybody on their way up, and even after that, they play, called Skippers. And even like, Hot Tuna. Have you ever heard of those guys?
I feel like I've heard of them. I don't know their music or anything, but
they're an older band, but they were the two guys there played in the Jefferson Airplane together, and then anyway, but they still play there, and there's a lot of band. Buddy Guy plays there. Anyway, so I just happened to look at Skippers, and I saw this guy Michael Burks, and I looked him up, and I said, and he was a blues guy, real good musician, and so I grabbed one of my kids or both of them, and we went to see the show, and he was amazing, but he was very accessible, and I just walked over and I said, man, I really enjoy your music, thank you so much, and I hope you have a safe road trip, and I can't wait to see you again. And I shook his hand, and that's it. And he was very gracious, and I always feel like, man, this guy's working. He doesn't need Craig Garber. We're not buddies, I know that, and I just want to thank him for the joy he's given me and wish him luck, and that's about what's appropriate. But anyway, the sad thing was, like 2 weeks later, on the same tour, the guy died.
Oh, geez.
It was like so tragic, because he was really like I saw this guy and I'm like, man, he's not going to be playing in Skippers next time. He'll be playing the big halls down here, because he was just a monster of a player. Yeah, a really sad thing, but I only thought of that because that was like an interaction, and I'm always like, I always try to respect people's time. I know they're busy and tired, and I don't even usually say stuff like that, but it was very intimate environment. He was walking off the stage, and we were right there. It's a small, close little sort of like good sized bar. But anyway, but yeah, I would be weird like hanging around people like you don't know. It'd be like hanging around and like go to the grocery store and hanging around somebody. It's just not a normal thing to do.
Yeah, right.
Anyway. But listen, man, I really appreciate you taking your time to do this. I know you're a busy guy. I know you've got some social media channels. Let me just talk about them, and then if you want to, have anything else to say, you could find Matt on Instagram at his name, Matt MATT _Helmkamp HELMKAMP. He's a really good player, and he's a very busy guy. I know he also does tracks from home, and he does lessons. If you want to contact him, Matt, you have an email, a secret Everyone Loves Guitar email address you can give out to the people listening to the podcast?
Yeah, it's just my name, Matt Helmkamp, all lowercase, at yahoo.com. So awesome. MATTHELMKAMP at yahoo.com.
Awesome. Listen, man, I really appreciate your time. I know how busy you are. I know you got to get rolling. Anything else? Last positive notes or tidbits? Everybody listening to this is a guitar. So what's the one piece of advice you'd give to people, learning how to play guitar, enjoying guitar, guys like me sitting in their, home office or home studio playing?
Yeah, I think it would just be to find your voice on the instrument, and, whether it's, if you're a shred guy, go for that. But, there's something to be said about, playing one note and putting a lot of feel and emotion into the one note. and just finding your voice on the instrument, letting it be something to speak.
I think that's really good words of wisdom. Listen, thank you for your time. Everybody, thanks for listening, and we'll see you on the next episode of Everyone Loves Guitar podcast. Y'all take care. Hey, thanks very much for listening. You can sign up to get notified of future episodes on our website at everyonelovesguitar.com. Now go play your guitar and have fun. Till next time, I'm out. Peace. We hope you enjoyed this show. If you did, subscribe to the Everyone Loves Guitar podcast, and you can do this online at everyonelovesguitar.com or on iTunes. And if you like the show, please leave us a 5-star positive review. The more 5-star reviews we get, the higher our show ranks, and higher rankings mean we get to continue speaking with cool, interesting guests on our show. We'll see you on the next episode, and until then, keep playing your guitar and have fun making music.